Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to start a build log of Eduard's 148 scale A6M2. I believe it's a Type 21. Sorry, I had to check the box, but I'm pretty sure it's a Type 21. So we start things out a little different here with assembling the wings, actually. I wanted to assemble these to see how the gear bay built up, and then also it would give me a good starting point to see how the fuselage halves fit together and how the wing root was. Give me an idea of what I'm up against for as far as a panel gap goes. So pretty unconventional start. Most of the time, you see people start with the cockpit and all the detailing in there, but I really wanted to do this because I had a lot of trouble with Eduard's 148 scale FW190s. The way that their gear bay built up was just very different from what I was used to. I mean, granted, I had only ever built pretty simple Tamiya kits and Revell kits up to that point. Um, yeah, actually, I think that's a fair statement. Probably, a few testers kits here and there, but nothing with the level with the engineering that Eduard has. Because they certainly have a very unique approach, I think. But all that to say, this gear bay, and I think it's like, what, 8 pieces or something, builds up beautifully. I mean, you have this one major large piece right here, and then several other smaller pieces that really make up the guts of the thing, for lack of a better term. And they all fit immaculately. I mean, like, I'm test fitting here just to get an idea of how I can approach gluing it. I ultimately glued it in 3 stages, I guess you could say. Like, started on the left, moved to the middle, and then glued in the right. Um, and that worked out really well. I didn't notice any fit issues at all. And using Tamiya's quick setting extra thin glue, it was pretty easy. So, very, very, very solid engineering on Eduard's part here. No complaints at all. I thought it was going to be a nightmare to assemble. But it really wasn't. And I had the same uh, hesitations, I guess you could say, when assembling the cowling. Unfortunately, I don't think I got that on tape, on video, but, it was a little nerve wracking because it's multi piece. Usually that means lots of gaps. But in this case, no. It was the fit, the precision was pretty darn good. And yeah, no, I think Eduard deserves a lot of credit for what they've managed to do here. So quick disclaimer. This is the first kind of step-by-step video that I've ever really done. So if you see a lot of the top of my hand, I apologize. I'm shooting this on an old iPhone that I just had lying around. And yeah, it's not like it's a DSLR that it seems like a lot of modelers use. So it's not the greatest at video, but it shoots in 4K. I can't really complain. Well, yes, I can because the battery life sucks. But anyway, sorry, I rambled there for a little bit. All that to say, I'm still working out this system. I've got a little gorilla leg tripod thing so that it's got like joints at every inch or so. So I'm really trying to get it figured out, but I haven't yet. I apologize. You're just gonna have to bear with me as I figure all this out. Plasmo, I am not scale model aircraft. I am not model guy. I am not. I need to pick their brains and see what their system, their setup looks like. Um, I might at some point in the future make these like uncut videos available as like a Patreon tier. You could hear all my mad ramblings, not that you would want to subject yourself to that, but that's a ways in the future. I can't really think about that right now. But yeah, so assembly's coming along nicely. I almost stabbed myself there, which is awesome. Got the adrenaline going though, so can't complain, right? Keeps you awake. But this is the still on the gear bay assembly. Maybe I should trim this down a little bit, but no, I'm not going to. I like where the video's at. It's about 20 minutes. I think that's a good length. Just taking my time really to carefully trim the plastic off of these pieces because the detail is so delicate. I don't want to damage it. I've done that before where I've been trying to like scrape off mold seam, and it just destroys the detail. And I don't have the modeling skill, modeling skill yet to fix that issue. So I'm taking my time. I'm being careful. I'm making sure everything aligns correctly before I glue it. You know, the old adage is dry fit twice, glue once. I think I go a little overboard with this, where I dry fit like 30 times and then glue once. But it worked in the end. I mean, there is very, very little, if zero, actually, haha, pun intended there. I don't think there's any noticeable seam line on the wing joints. And, you know, part of that does certainly come down to cleaning the wings, removing their sprue gates before uh, putting them together. Edward had this really bizarre sprue gate system for the wings. It's like there's a little nub on the gluing side, so the side that would connect to that would sandwich together. There's a little nub, and it's not a guiding pin. It's just it's part of their it's part of the sprue. It's part of the sprue gate. So took a little extra care to clean them up, and it's definitely worth it. And granted, the landing gear bay does not have that same characteristic. It's just a matter of I want this kit to be as good as I can make it. And so far, I think I've done that, which makes all the time. I think I spent like 3 hours on the wing alone. And some people may not need that time. That's okay. I am methodical. I'm slow. But I like the result. And that's really all that matters in this hobby, right? Like, I do appreciate historical accuracy, of course. But it's also from an event that happened 80 years ago. Eyewitness accounts vary on the camouflage color of the Japanese Zero. They vary on the gear bay color of the Mustang, or not the gear bay color, the interior color, slightly, mind you. Like, I'm sure the flight manual, the guide or whatever, not the guide, the assembly manual, such that existed in 1943 for the P-51 Mustangs, specified a specific FS color for the inside, but pilots tell it differently, and I think that gives us as modelers a bit of freedom to mess around with our oh gosh, what's the phrase I'm looking for, with our color shades, our hues. There we go. But anyway, that sorry to rant a little bit there. I didn't intend for that to go on. Moving on to the wing construction, you've probably seen in the background some of the trimming I've had to do, but you can also see just how good this fit is. I mean, you can even see from here that there's no visible gap, there's no visible overlap. Granted, I believe this side actually ended up having a little bit of a overlap that I need to take care of, but it's not major, and it's barely perceptible. I'm sure with a coat of primer and paint it'll be more perceptible, but I'm looking at the kit right now, and it's like maybe a quarter of a millimeter that's visible. It's not very much. So even though I am using Tamiya's quickset cement, I'm still masking this together. I think I let it dry overnight just to be careful. I don't want to say I've been burned before, because it's a model kit. You're not burned. It's not life or death. But I've been thrown off, I guess you could say, at times where I've used cement and I didn't let it cure properly. Granted, this was the Model Master liquid cement, so not the best, but it didn't cure properly, and as I was building later down the line, the model kit fell apart, and that was not fun, because 14-year-old Mile High modeler didn't really understand what was going on and didn't have the patience to really figure it out. Nor did he have the wallet to buy Tamiya extra thin. Actually, you know what? At that time, I don't think my model store carried it. Yeah, I don't think it had it, but I was a tube glue guy. I was Testors Red or Testors Blue. So I think my parents preferred me use Tester Blue because it's non-toxic, whatever that means for model glue. But it worked out. I got some pretty darn good kits built as a kid. But wow, another tangent. I'm just crushing it tonight. But I have improved a lot, and I think this kit shows it. The level of care that I put in to simple things like this. What is this piece? What is this? Oh, the flaps. Or, I'm sorry, ailerons, not the flaps, ailerons. Eduard didn't give us positionable flaps. In the base kit, of course. Eduard's got, they've got such a good strategy where they make these beautiful kits, and, Profi packs sell, I think, for 55 US now. Maybe a little less depending on the kit, but they've got this wonderful system where they sell you a kit with decent levels of detail, some goodies in the bag or box rather. But then they also sell Brasson and full-blown engines for these things, which are, I mean, they are utterly gorgeous. But I was curious, so I looked. The A6M2's engine from Brasson costs $10 less than the model kit itself. So they have a good system there. But that being said, I did not, in fact, buy the engine. I'm just going off of whatever was in the box, and I actually saved a lot of the photo etch parts. I want to use those for a later build. This is my first Zero. Actually, no, it's my second Zero. The first was the Tamiya offering from, like, what is that mold from? 1976? It's an old mold, and you can absolutely tell the difference because this Eduard Zero is a state-of-the-art kit. You've got extremely fine rivet details. You've got extremely fine panel lines. The cockpit is gorgeous, and you'll be able to see that here soon. And, the landing gear bay is also gorgeous. It's amazing the difference 50 years can make. Even in something as simple as model making. I mean, you can also apply that argument to, computers as well. Think of what a computer was in the 1970s or even the 1980s and compare it to now. The capability difference that we have as humans to engineer marvels is astonishing to me. But existential discussion aside, it's an airplane. It's got two ailerons, one for each wing. And so we're on to the second one. And these things fit into place really nicely. I have been building the F6F-3. I think it's the -3 Hellcat. Same deal. Eduard's fit of these flaps for their aircraft models is just incredible. It's amazing. Any semblance of a panel line gap just disappears and becomes the nature of an articulating piece on the real airplane. First things last, right? And I didn't fully tell the truth when I said I didn't use the photo etch. I didn't use all of it. I used some of it just where I couldn't get around not using it, and that's, I mean, here we go, photo etch, and that it includes one of the like pulley things in the engine compartment. I don't even know what it is, but there was no way I was going to be able to do that on my own, so I was just kind of going, nobody's going to see it anyway. I might as well just drop it in there. So I do. And Eduard Photo Etch is very good. It is very good. And I didn't use it for the instrument panels on this kit. I wanted to use the decals, and even those look stellar. I think I was able to get those on video, but the phone may have died, so I'm not sure. But going back to photo etch is still something very new for me. I'm still kind of getting used to it. Um, I've said before I've built. Wait, the FW190 I built was a weekend edition. Where I used Eduard photo etch for a Revell F-15 Eagle. Uh, I've used photo etch railing for an IJN Yuki Kaze ship in 1/350 scale, but that's really it. I tried building the Bronco USS Independence also in 350 scale. That didn't go well. But I'm still getting used to, for lack of a better term, getting used to photo etch metal. And, you know, I mean, the detail that it offers is just stunning. But it does add a degree of work, and sometimes in the past I haven't been ready for that. Ah, yes, enjoy this glorious shot of my index finger knuckle as I try to position some pieces into place. Like I said, I'm still figuring out this whole system of camera placement and how to build a model on camera. So any advice, you know, any advice that y'all have is welcome. And if it comes down to buying an actual tripod and setting the camera up like over my shoulder but with zoom all the way so that you can see, I'll do that. I think part of it is also just awareness of where the camera's at. You know, getting used to and responding to where the camera is takes practice. I mean, trained actors will tell you it takes practice, and I fully believe it. Because you can't look directly at the camera, you have to look at your sight lines, I think they're called. Or eye lines, maybe? I'm not sure. I apologize for the cuts here, but I figured it would be more interesting to see the progression of the build of the cockpit rather than me just cutting a bunch of things off of a sprue, especially considering half the time you can't even see the damn sprue. So I hope you approve of my creative choice and enjoy the rest of this cockpit build. This cockpit is immaculate. Oh my gosh. Do not take that out of context, please. I will not appreciate it. But I sound like a broken record because the detailing of this kit is phenomenal. The way that the cockpit builds up with the seat, the suspended seat with these little arms is really interesting to me. I mean, it's like the seat is suspended, but then you connect I think these are the rudder pedals, I believe, and you can replace those with photo etch. I decided not to, personal preference, especially for something like the rudder pedals. You're not going to be able to see those once the canopy's all attached and the fuselage is closed up. You're barely going to be able to see those. So I felt okay using the plastic parts. They look good enough anyway. They're serviceable, I think is the word I'm looking for. Serviceable. At this point, we're moving on to attach the control yoke, or control stick. I think it's not a yoke, but... and this is actually something interesting I learned, is that the Zero had its trigger mechanism on the throttle column rather than on the stick, like a normal, quote-unquote, like a Western fighter would. I mean, you think about the P-40, the Spitfire. Granted, the Spitfire had a bizarre-looking control as well. I mean, but anyway, it was still on that central stick. It wasn't on the throttle, of all things. So, just an interesting quirk, I guess you could say, of the A6M0. I mean, this thing was a incredible airplane. The range was unmatched. Firepower was really good right up until the end of the war. I mean, two 20mm cannons in the wings paired with a 7.7mm machine gun, and it was maneuverable. I mean, much to the horror of the Allies, it could outmaneuver a Spitfire. So it's a unique machine, I think we can say. But yeah, with the final bits of the cockpit coming together, we're approaching the end of the video. I didn't actually get to put all the cockpit together. Sorry to be kind of a catfish on that, but you're just gonna have to come back after I paint them all. So it's assembled out of like 5 or 6 major sub-assemblies. So please do like, subscribe, leave a comment, all that jazz. You know, maybe some advice on how to get my camera set up. I welcome it all. Just keep it civil, please. There's enough hate in the world right now. I don't want this small community that I'm trying to build contributing to it. So, like, comment, subscribe. I don't really have a schedule for uploading. I do know that I'm going to try to be building this Zero over my weekends. So, granted, we've got a lot of the assembly done, so it's just a matter of painting now and adding the landing gear and the propeller and the decals. But those are, pretty minor, all things considered. So just, ring the bell, turn the notifications on. You'll never miss any part of this build. But, until then, I have had a blast with this set so far. Some frustration, but nothing terrible. Anyway, I'm rambling again. I've been rambling for 20 minutes. I hope you have a great day. Take care of yourself, and I'll catch you in the next one. See ya.